Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Shuffle Music Reviews and Retrospectives from a Gracelessly Aging Millennial. Apologies for the little mini hiatus here. Been extraordinarily busy on the Due Dissidence channel, holding the show down myself while Russ is away. That and a couple other things. I have things quite hectic right now for me, so it's a little tough to make these uploads consistent for the time being, but we're almost through the thick of it, so we'll have more regularly uploaded content moving forward. But there have been quite a few new albums that I think are worth talking about and worth reviewing that have come out over the past couple weeks that I really want to get a chance to share with you guys, because I think there's some really exciting stuff coming out now for the first time in a while. So the first that I want to talk about here, which came out on March 27th, so a couple weeks behind on this, my apologies, of course, is a new jazz album by Michael Peter Balzari, better known as Flea, who is the bassist, of course, from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And while there's plenty of great bass playing on this contemporary jazz album, you can argue that the true standout instrument here is actually the trumpet, which is also performed, yes, by Flea himself. Now, some of you may have already known Flea was a trumpet player, even though he's played very little of it throughout his career. He did, however, lay a trumpet track down for Jane's Addiction's Idiot's Rule, which is a killer track off of their excellent debut studio album called Nothing's Shocking, which I talked about on one of my top 5 countdowns here. On Honora, Flea plays both the bass and the trumpet, of course, and he does both really, really well in what is a very, very pleasant surprise of an album. My top album of the year so far, I think. Track 1 is more of an intro track called Golden Wing Ship. It's just about a minute long, but then track 2 is really the first song on the album. It was released as a single. It's called A Plea, and it's a 7-minute sort of slow build with some terrific bass grooves, culminating in a spoken word part by Flea, which is a plea for peace and sanity. A little preachy, maybe a little cheesy, but it works because Flea really sells the delivery as a man literally driven mad by the insanity of our times. And musically, it's really terrific. I love it. I love the playing on it. I love the arc of the tune. Then you have Traffic Lights, which features one of a few guest spots on this album. Traffic Lights brings in Radiohead's Tom York, and this song sounds exactly like you think a contemporary jazz Tom York song would sound. Super groovy percussion part, some great staccato bass work and guitar work, and some really catchy trumpet licks. Just a great song. A great song. More sort of pop-oriented, but still plenty jazzy, plenty groovy. Really does sound like a jazz Radiohead song. So great tune there. Track 4 is perhaps the most adventurous piece on the record. It's an 11-minute opus called Frailed, which is an original instrumental composition, which features some really cool sort of synthy sounding cymbals, also some woodwind. You have flute on this song, and of course, the trumpet and bass. Definitely more of an abstract song, but it stays grounded in this kind of groovy bass track throughout most of its runtime, and I think it works really well. There's a great sampling of jazz styles here, from the more abstract to the more contemporary, to the more old school, because the next track on the record is an album called Morning Cry at 3.5 minutes, the most concise song on the album, and it's more of a straightforward homage to the great bebop players of old. Miles Davis, Dizzy Gillespie. This is jazz with a capital J. This is jazz as most people think of jazz music, but it's played really, really well. It's a great little track. And what I love about this album is exemplified in tracks even like this, which is that Flea obviously woodshedded a lot in preparation for this recording. He talks about how for a couple of years in anticipation of making this album, he made a point to rehearse his trumpet playing every single day, no matter what, whether he was home or whether he was on the road and in a hotel room while on tour. He said he made a point to practice the instrument every single day, no matter what. He took the album very, very seriously. This is not just a vanity project where a famous and successful musician just does something they always wanted to do because they can. This was not just, oh, I've always dreamed of making a jazz album, so let's try it and see what happens. He clearly put a ton of work and preparation into the making of this album. This is a very serious and successful endeavor to create what really stands on its own as a great contemporary jazz album. The second half of the album deals a lot more in interpretations of older songs, cover songs. The next track here is Maggot Brain, which is a terrific cover of the Funkadelic classic where Flea recreates the beautiful guitar work on the original recording on the trumpet. And once again, it works really well. He really sings that guitar solo on his horn in a way that really works surprisingly well. Nick Cave comes in, sings the country classic Wichita Lineman in what could have been a misstep, kind of a bold choice there, but I think it works plenty well. You get some really nice upright bass playing here from Flea. The intimacy of the recording really works. The playing on this album feels very real. It's not overproduced. It sounds very analog. It's not slick. You can really see the fingers pressing on the strings and digging into the frets here. It feels very lived in and very natural and has this very intimate sound that really comes through on that track, among others. Track 8, perhaps the highlight of the album here, which is the cover of the Frank Ocean song Thinking About You, which is beautiful. He turns the song into this gorgeous kind of duet between the bass and the trumpet, letting the two instruments split duties on that very, very pretty vocal melody. And the string arrangement in the background just creates this very, very lush landscape. It's a beautiful arrangement, a terrific rendition of a great contemporary song. Track 9 is Willow Weep for Me, which is a song that is almost 100 years old by now, if you could believe that. It's written in 1932 by Anne Ronell and made famous by Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong. Maybe the most forgettable song on here, but definitely not a skip track. Not a skip track at all. Still plenty good. And then the last track, Free As I Wanna Be, is a great contemporary sounding R&B dirge with a great vocal and bass hook. So the bottom line on Honora is that it's a huge success. It's meticulous, but it's also loose and adventurous. It's got a great combination of original material along with some really creative and inventive covers, particularly Maggot Brain and Thinking About You. Those are terrific. A lot of really intricate, catchy, complex rhythms here make for a really exciting listen, but it's also groovy enough to tap your foot to. One other thing that Flea talked about in promoting this record is that he's not a classically trained musician. And part of the challenge of jazz and part of what makes jazz so fun to learn, not only to listen to, but to play, if you've ever played music, and I played trumpet in high school, is that it really forces you to learn the mathematics of music, not just the mathematics of rhythm, but the mathematics of harmony when it comes to putting the chords together and figuring out which solos are going to sound good against which chords. It's all math. It's very cerebral, and that's one of the kind of great and beautiful sort of ironies of jazz is that on the one hand it is the loosest or one of the loosest musical art forms. I don't want to be absolutist about it, but it's one of the loosest art forms, but it's also one that requires the most discipline, which is kind of a paradox on the surface, but when you start listening and learning it, and especially playing it, you kind of realize how true that is, that what sounds the easiest actually takes the most work and the most discipline. And the great thing about this album is that Flea obviously really put the work in to learn it and to do it right. And I wish other artists would do this kind of thing, where they do a side project where they really put the time in as opposed to just treating it as a vanity project, as a lot of side projects and supergroups over the years have been. He's not just coasting on his name here and trusting that people will get a kick out of, oh, look, Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers put out a jazz album. Isn't that novel? No, he actually puts in the work and nails it. And for going the extra mile, I'll go the extra half star here and bump this up to 4.5 stars. Very, very rare for me to go above 4 stars on an album. 5 stars almost never. Above 4, very, very rare. I think, what bumps this up half a star is just everything I've been talking about. The riskiness of the endeavor, the creativity of the endeavor, and the fact that so many artists treat these side projects as vanity projects and trust that they can just coast on their name and on the concept of stepping outside of your comfort zone. He actually really obviously took the time to make a terrific contemporary jazz album that stands on its own. It's my album of the year so far. We're only 3.5 months into 2026, so no guarantees in terms of where this ranks at the end of the year. But this is now the album to beat, no doubt about it. Honora by Flea. I definitely recommend that you check it out. Thanks, everybody, very much for watching once again. Apologize for the lack of uploads lately. Got plenty of fun stuff coming down the pike. Some more album reviews. Our 1995 countdown will be out probably within the week. Once again, things are a little slow and hectic right now, so we will get caught up in due time. Thanks, everybody, very much for watching. Please smash that subscribe button and smash that like button. If you've heard this album, let me know what you think of it in the comments, please, and thank you very much. We'll see you next time.